Good morning.
Good afternoon.
Good evening. Welcome to being here wherever you are on our amazing planet. I'm Ariel.
I'm Shaya, and today we're going to talk about generosity.
Okay, I'm listening.
Well, when you, well, that was very generous of you.
Thank you.
When you give someone your full attention, it's an act of generosity. Most of the time we're so busy getting somewhere that we seldom slow down enough to be with the people around us. And we're going to do our best to do that today.
Now, we know that this episode airs on Valentine's Day. And so some of you may be tuned right now to your loved ones, your love partner, or the possibility of finding a love partner. But really, it's an act of generosity everywhere you go.
I had the best time at the bank this morning.
Yes, tell me.
Well, I met Juana.
Oh, I know Juana. She's very cool.
She was very cool, but her name tag was covered. So I asked her name. It was just a lovely interaction. And I was getting some cash for a trip we're taking.
So what's neat about that is Shai didn't treat her as if she was less important than me.
That's right.
He fully engaged with Juana. She was in front of him as if knowing her name matters, as if being with her matters, because it does. That's what's happening in your life in any given moment. Well, whatever's in front of you.
Yes, but you can be lost in your thoughts about where you're going and what you want to accomplish, your agendas, or you can be with your universe as it's showing up in the current moment. And that's what we're interested in, as creating a possibility for you to discover. Because for the most part, we've been trained to interact with our lives by people who are distracted from their current moment by their agendas to get somewhere.
So how are you today? Are you really here? Is that what we're starting at? Are you distracted? Are you tired? Are you feeling well? Are you feeling ill? Wherever you are is the perfect place to start. And also for you to recognize how you are so that you can tune in and fully listen to hear what's being said. Not just Shai and I. We have a couple of amazing guests on today. And whether they're sharing something or asking something, let's listen. Let's hear what another person has to say from their perspective. It is generous. Shall we take our first guest?
Let's. Christian.
Christine, where are you zooming in from?
Hi, Ariel. Hi, Shaya. I'm zooming in from Schkuhl in Switzerland.
Ooh, say it again.
Schkuhl. It's Scuol. Or the old pronunciation is also Schulz. Schulz, I think they say. So it's a special kind of language in this region here.
Nice. Nice. Welcome.
Thank you. I really liked your introduction. I was smiling when I heard every word because I could relate so much to parts of it. And so initially when I read the description of this podcast, I felt because, how was it written down?
When you give someone your full attention, it's an act of generosity. Join the Kings and Christine on today's episode of Being Here and fine-tune your giving spirit.
Yeah, I like the part act of generosity. It reminded me a bit of parts when I study yogic text or a Buddhist text about being generous. And I feel like sometimes I make little distinctions, whether I want to really listen to people or I just want to sort of get over because it's maybe not my part of interest what they are telling me. And when I realized that, I think it was a couple of months ago, where I saw that I make this distinction, I just like to, be more, just listen and give them space to speak and to say what they want
You
to
know
say.
what's interesting about what you're talking about? Clearly, at least for me, you have studied Eastern philosophy.
Mm.
And so you're driven internally to try to fulfill that way of being. I believe that you would naturally fulfill that way of being, even if you didn't know about Eastern philosophy. That your natural interest, there's a saying, curiosity killed the cat.
Okay.
At least they have that here.
And curiosity brings you into the moment.
Mm-hmm.
When you're curious about something, it gets you interested in it.
Luckily, you're not a cat, so you're not going to like, oh, this looks like a mouse. What is this mousetrap? And putting your paw on it, so that's where that framework comes from.
Mm-hmm.
Your natural curiosity leads you to looking. I love that you use the word distinctions, though, like, oh, this I'm interested in, that not so much.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because
if it shows up in your life in this moment, that's your moment.
And that's your area.
That's cool.
So you can either say, well, I'm not interested in that, but if what I'm talking about is cats and their curiosity, that's your moment rather than your preferred moment.
Yeah.
And people are funny. They think that there's a hierarchy of interests. And if you're interested in one thing like the theater or museums, you're more of a person than if you're interested in woodworking.
Yeah, I like what you're saying with these different interests. And I also can see, of course, there's days where it's easier for me to listen just to listen, or to listen to certain topics, which might not be my preference topics. And then there's other days where I'm just, and I in those moments, I can absolutely see it. I see this part which wants to escape the conversation and go to somebody else, or all these things. And it's kind of nice to observe it. And yeah.
I got a little lost.
Well, she said,
sorry.
I've got this. There are days where she can be interested in virtually anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are days where it's more of a challenge, where somebody says something she'd rather escape than listen.
I see.
I suspect, Christine, that you haven't caught that on those days you're already preoccupied. Like you have an occupation. Like if Shai speaks to me and I'm working out something in my thoughts, I may look like I'm in the room, but I've previously been occupied with a conversation. It may not be out, but it's here.
Yes.
Additionally, though,
you're always preoccupied.
We all are.
We all are.
Mm-hmm.
And if I say something to you, in any moment that I say something to you, you are already, previous to my saying it, you're already engaged in a thought process about something, because your mind is so facile, so quick, so busy all the time.
While that is true, there are times where I'm more deeply entrenched in a
but what I'm saying is I always have to preface what
do you have a moment, or
when I want your attention, I really have to ask for it first. You can be fully there to receive it.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Because it reminds me of a situation last summer. I was working in a restaurant as a waitress here. And sometimes people, when I go to the table, they just talk to me, no matter what I'm doing or whether I'm there or not. And then there was this guest. So I went to the table collecting glasses, and he looked at me and he said, can I ask you something? And I said, that's so nice that you're asking me if you can talk to me, because sometimes they just, come and I'm not ready yet to listen to them. And I found that really nice, that he was asking sort of my listening to him.
To get your attention first.
Yes.
So two things. One, the days where you find yourself wanting to escape, chances are you're already upset about something.
Mm-hmm.
When we're upset or we're overtired, which is sometimes a version of upset. Sometimes you're just genuinely tired, but other times it's like, I've had enough of this day. Yeah. I said two things, but I don't recall the second one right now. Oh, I know. Shia has hearing aids. And in his hearing aids, he now has this incredible capability, Bluetooth. So he doesn't even have to be holding his phone. He can be listening to a podcast, and I can walk into the room. And not only is he preoccupied, he's really preoccupied because he's listening to a story. And it's been an excellent tool, even when we're apparently alone in our home, for me to do what that kind gentleman did when he came to the moment. I have a question, or to really look and see if he's listening to something rather than launching. I think sometimes when we live with somebody, we have the expectation, they're there at our beck and call all the time. And there's a possibility of something new there.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. It's really nice to be with you.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it also very much. Before I thought I'm sure I'm gonna get nervous. Or maybe I still, if there is little time left, I have just a tiny little question which goes about conversation and talking to people.
Sure.
So sometimes with socializing, when I meet new people or people I don't know so well, I get super uncomfortable to dealing with either saying nothing or saying just something. When you stand next to somebody and hi, and then okay, and now so do you have anything?
I suspect one of the challenges about that is you have that I was talking about internalized pressures to you earlier. Many of us have been trained to have the idea that we need to be interesting. But if you're interested, you don't have to come preloaded with anything to say. All you can look, I like your sweater. What's your name? Where do you live? How did you get here today? There's an interest in that other person. That allows you to not have your attention on yourself. So if you're nervous, you probably have your attention on yourself, or you're connecting in with them and they're nervous. I remember that we had that client that you called
in Chicago.
I was very nervous, like, oh God, what am I going to say? What do I have to offer? This is it was a very strange conversation he was having with himself. And when she picked up the phone, she was this high-level executive. She said, let me close my door. I don't know what to say. I don't know what I have to offer. So that his thoughts, when he connected with her, mirrored her thoughts immediately. So sometimes it can be even like, wow, I'm a little nervous. I don't know what to say. Did you have something else, my friend?
Well, it's a little deep. But, you're a very attractive lady. And you use that to hide behind from time to time.
And what do you mean by hiding behind?
Well, you can spin a glamourie with your sensuality that is not off-putting, but it has people not see
Christine,
you right.
like I know people
Okay.
cannot see you today,
Mhm.
but we see you. You're wearing probably like a camisole or we don't see all the way down. And over is a really loosely knit
Mhm.
sweater that has the camisole peek out and the sweater is dropped off your shoulder. And so if I were a person who hadn't been fed lately, like I was looking for intimacy, I might have a harder time
Seeing
you.
seeing you.
I'd be staring at your shoulder.
Right.
Okay.
And
Oh.
But that's a very good thing in a way. You see, it allows you to not be seen as perhaps the sensitive being that you are. You'll be seen more as in a sensual or way where they're distracted from you.
Mhm.
essence of Christine keeps getting a little diverted by, wow, what a gorgeous woman, which is fine. However, if you know you're doing it, it's very different than doing it as a shield. And I'm not trying to
And
get you to adjust your.
when Ariel said gorgeous woman, you disagreed with her in your own thoughts.
Did I? I'm not. Yes and no.
Yes,
Maybe.
and
Maybe yes and no.
you adjusted your sweater so it's no longer off your shoulder. I think it's gorgeous. I love it. I like being distracted that way personally.
I feel a little embarrassed.
Why?
Yeah.
Well, you see, that's the interesting thing. The idea of being seen as you are is a little frightening.
I think it definitely is. And
Yes.
I felt I had this conversation with my boyfriend one day that because he is living in one place since almost 20 years, and I, like in my childhood, was somewhere for 4 years, and we constantly moved, and I kept doing that again. And then I realized that it's like to get in touch with people is easy and to stay loose friends, but somehow sometimes I have like, I'm afraid that they kind of get me to know really with all my weird things and nice things. And
Maybe not so weird.
yeah, maybe not.
Maybe you think you're weird.
Mm.
I mean, if you really knew me, you'd know I was weird.
Thanks for pointing that out.
Hey, you're great, exactly as you are.
As for instance, as a yoga teacher, that sensuousness, and not only defined in that area, but I find your sensuousness in a type of healing
gift.
And if you allow it so that it's over the holidays, I saw a Christmas special with Hannah Waddingham, I think is her name. She was the actress on a wildly successful series,
Ted
Lasso, and she played the boss. And she's a very, very beautiful woman and also an incredible entertainer. And over the course of this Christmas special, where she was the central figure, they had her dressed up in 3 different very sexy, glamorous outfits. And I found it so freeing for me how much she owned her physicality, and she wasn't hunching in on herself to hide her height or her breasts, or that she had generous hips and that her behind was well shaped and she had legs. It was like she wasn't saying, oh, I don't like this bit, don't look at that bit, don't look like really fully being there on stage and owning it. And I found myself walking around afterwards more in my own body. You can feel comfortable in your body.
I do much more than before. Like there were maybe 10 years ago or even just 7 years ago. I just feel much more comfortable with myself and as I am. So
sweet.
Yeah. Yes.
Thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for listening and answering. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
See you soon. Bye.
It's that time.
The time for what?
Our listener feedback spotlight.
What is that?
Well, I'm so proud of the people who listen to this show. And now we get to hear from one or more of them about what's happening in their lives with transformation by listening to this podcast and
what they've discovered about life, what they've discovered about their lives, that they are experiencing fun in their lives.
And that they want to share it with you.
Yeah.
This is Teresa from New York City. I love being with Ariel and Shia and everyone else who's part of the community. This community supports me in my well-being. It gives me clarity, and I love the way Ariel and Shia see things uniquely, and it helps me to see things. They don't force opinions or things that they're seeing or talking about. They speak to me so that I can discover them for myself as well.
Do you want to have well-being with consistency? Connect with people all over the world from the comfort of your own home at Ariel and Shia's lively interactive Living Made Easy virtual seminars. Join any of their 2-hour online events or take a deep dive into the magic of being you at a virtual weekend seminar. Come on, let's connect. Find out more and register at transformationmadeeasy.com.
We have a couple of Living Made Easy virtual events coming up, the seminars this Saturday and next Monday.
Yeah, these are 2-hour seminars where we via Zoom, and you're welcome to join us.
Yeah, come play with us.
So Saturday, February 17th and Monday, February 19th.
And if you happen to be listening to this in the archives, just go to transformationmadeeasy.com and see what's currently upcoming.
We have a couple of weekend seminars coming up. The Power of Listening, which is a virtual seminar on March 2nd and 3rd.
You can fine tune and continue to train your generosity skills there. The people who are coming are awesome, and you could be one of them.
And then we have the Freedom to Breathe on April 18th and Simplicity, a 3-day seminar, Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday, April 19th through 21st.
And that's in Hamburg, Germany. It will be bilingual, English, German. And I'm really excited that we get to go there again this year. It's like our home away from home in Germany.
In Germany.
If you'd like to be on our newsletter and receive it automatically, you can sign up, and you can certainly sign up for this podcast to be delivered to you each week. You ready for our next?
I am.
Okay. Let's greet Dave. Where are you zooming in from, Dave?
Hi, I am in Winnipeg, Canada.
Okay, welcome.
Yes.
Thank you. It's nice to be here with you.
Nice having you with us.
Yeah, I've been listening to your conversation with Christine and the introduction and the idea of generosity. It never occurred to me that I could just be generous in giving my attention to somebody. But that's a generous thing to do. And as I looked and listened, I could see how rich the people that I give my generosity to are. And I find it's really touching. Like if it's my girlfriend, my kids, my friends. Lately I've been really moved by that, just by giving my attention to people.
Mm.
And I love it. One of the areas that I didn't expect to see it is in my business. I'm a civil engineer and I have a consulting practice here in Winnipeg. And recently, one of my clients, they're doing a land development. So they're creating a new housing development. And they needed one of the neighbors to agree to move their access in order to get permission for the development. And it wasn't going very well. And then I just said to my client, why don't you and I meet with them and let's just listen to them? And maybe we'll hear something. Maybe just that will be enough to solve it either for you or for them. And we did. And we met these really amazing people. And I was just surprised that, I mean, I've been around you guys a long time, so I'm less surprised, but I was really touched by just giving them our attention was enough for us all to come together and really become friends, but also, take care of a situation that for both sides. I just found that really amazing.
Well, what I find amazing is that you've actually described truly listening, because what you said to your client is, let's meet with them and listen to what they have to say. Maybe it'll be enough to solve it. It wasn't, let's listen to them and see if we can change their minds. It wasn't hearing in order to advance your agenda and manipulate them to do what you want. It was about genuinely hearing what they had to say and seeing what would come next, what was appropriate, what would take care of everybody. And I love that you described meeting these lovely people rather than these jerks who are standing between you and your project.
Yeah, before we met them, that kind of sentiment that these people were in the way of our project was really easy to, get on board with.
Mm-hmm.
I just could see that happening in me just naturally, and sort of in commiseration and agreement with my client, who obviously had something to lose in it. And I realized I just need to slow down, whether this goes ahead or not. I do care about, but it's not going to be resolved, by going down that road. And so I just said, why don't let's just slow down. Let's stop. This will probably all be okay. And if it doesn't work out that way, we'll work it out another way, because that's what we do. Is if, one way is not working as an engineer, we look and say, okay, we can try and solve it this way or that way. Would have been a setback, but it wouldn't have been the end of the world. And we didn't have to go bowl over these people in order to do it. And yeah, it was very touching, very cool to be a part of.
Also nice that you didn't have to set up a drama with these people, because clearly they're going to be in close proximity to each other, down the line. So it's nice that they get to already be good neighbors.
Yeah, it was very cool. I just wanted to share that as like, as a gift. It's been a gift to me in my business, because I see it, that actually happens. That's not the first time it's happened. It's happened so many times. And one of my clients, one of the things that they said to me about the reason they like to work with us is that we listen. And that is unusual in our in our
Well,
business.
most of us listen through an agenda to get what we want, as if that's the important thing, rather than listen just because that person's there.
Hmm.
You know, when I said there are really awesome people coming to the Power of Listening, you are one of them. You're the first person to sign up. And what's neat about that is you're not coming because you think your listening skills are broken, but more because you recognize how valuable they are for you.
Yeah, that's so true. You know, and I mean, everywhere I turn, whether it's with my kids, and I see it in my kids. Like I have 3 kids. They're all amazing people, and sometimes they don't know it, especially in that sort of mid-teenage period. And
Mhm.
and what's cool is to, you know, allow them to be as they are, and also sometimes my parenting and my desire for them to succeed in whatever they do kind of takes over, and I slow down, and they always come out. I don't know. I'm just really proud of my kids.
Well, maybe you should be proud of you because you're an integral part of how they're relating to life. It's not despite you,
Mm,
you know. I'm taken back to the bank this morning where my interest in the bank teller allowed her to say things to me, some of which I found interesting. Like she said, what are you doing for the holidays? And I normally would think, well, that's personal. But I let her know that we were going on vacation. And she said she got so excited about my vacation. It was very interesting how people get excited when you include them in your life. Not that you're trying to prove to them something, but just to genuinely include them.
You know, yesterday I went to the dentist. I had a crown replaced. I had the temporary in, and they went, and the dentist was fine tuning it. And he's like, "You have to give a hug to Shia for me. I love that guy." I said, "Okay." Well, he said, no, you have to make sure he knows it's from me. You get to hug him all the time." It was just the funniest conversation, but it was so sweet. And when I came in, I gave Shy a big hug, and I'm like, "That's from Dr. D, who wanted me to make sure that he knew, you know, that he gave you a hug."
After this, I'm going to
Call
call
him up.
his office and tell him hug received.
Yeah. Yeah.
that's so cool.
There's one thing I has circled back around that you said early, and I just wanted to touch back on it because it really reflects transformation as opposed to change. You said listening happens so many places, and you were surprised that it made a difference at work. Like you had these different categories.
Mm.
That is how our minds are set up in change, but in transformation, how you do anything is how you do everything. So if you're not listening one place, chances are you're not listening another.
And if you're kind to yourself, as in your thoughts, then you'll probably be kind to everybody you interact with. And that makes for a peaceful world. You know, it's real easy to say you're for world peace, but if you're agitated in yourself, there is no peace. You know, it all starts with you. How you relate to your life and life around you reflects your universe. So, and that's not to put a pressure on you to be different than you are, but see, the truth is, if you let yourself be the way you are, you'd probably be a very happy person. But most of the time, you're dictating rules, or your thought processes are dictating rules about how you ought to be. And it's always kinder than you think. because you think you're not kind.
Yeah. That I grew up, when I grew up, that wasn't a possibility for me. And
What wasn't a possibility?
that I could be kind to myself. And there was a lot of pressure to be different, you know, to reach a certain standard of, or to, I don't know what the right word is, but always comparing myself to what I thought I should be.
Well, you were talking about that also in regards to your kids. You can see it coming from your dad, for instance, because I know after your mom passed away when you were younger, because we know you, and your dad took over raising. How many siblings did you have? You had
5.
So
6 kids.
Oh, sorry. No, 5 kids and 4.
5 kids.
5 kids, 4
Okay.
siblings, 5 kids.
Okay. Good.
So clearly, he wanted you to be a success. He wanted to take care of you, wanted to make sure that you were prepared for the world. But as you were talking about your 3 kids and you want them to be successful at everything they do, I registered, there are plenty of things in my childhood that I was only semi-successful at. But I find that as a filtering process, like where is my actual interest?
It's interesting because I was talking to Ariel earlier today. We're going on this trip and we got a couple of days fishing mixed in. And I tied all kinds of new flies for this fishing trip because we fly fish. And I'm impressed with the quality of my workmanship. And when I was a youngster, I wasn't very capable of producing any kind of quality work. Something has happened in my way of going about life where I'm gentle and kind with myself, which allows me to be gentle and kind with anything I touch, including the materials it takes to build a fishing fly. So, you can transform how you once were. You don't have to be. It's all new when you get here, because this is a different moment of your life. And most of us think same old, same old. You're like, well, it's me. Well, maybe it's not you. Maybe you're different in this moment than you were in the last. And problem is you compare your child raising to your parents' child raising.
Yeah.
As if you didn't turn out great.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something, Dave. You turned out great. So how could your kids not be great?
But if I go back to the being successful at everything, if I take a look at my closest sibling, Mary, who was 2.5 years older than I, so we were in primary school together. We were in high school at the same time. She was really, really good at the sciences. She went on to be a physician, a pediatrician. I was not really good at the sciences. I did what I did. So if I'd been being pressed to be successful in that area, I would have been miserable. Everybody would have been miserable. If she had been pressed to get on stage as an actress in high school, she would have been really miserable. It wasn't her happy place. So somewhere in there, I think redefining success, it's more like, wow, throw this up and see if you have a passion for it. And if not, just do the best you can in that situation and move on to the next thing.
Cool. That's cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
I hadn't seen it like that. And when you say it, I can see that the pressure that I put a lot of pressure on myself, or at least I have. And I can see that I'm also doing with
you can see you're putting pressure on yourself. You can release the pressure. If you don't realize that you're putting pressure on yourself. If you don't see it, then you keep doing it just because it's the only way you know how to operate.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Mm,
Yeah.
you're welcome.
And just one more thing about that, Dave. I have a feeling when you went to sit down with your client and these other individuals to see how you could work out the access way for this project, and to sit down and listen to them, you don't feel like a pressure to have them be successful because they weren't your kids.
Yes.
So in a certain respect, you can borrow from that part of your life for your kids, and you can borrow your passionate love for your kids for the other parts of your life. It all flows together quite nicely.
That's cool. You know, as you describe it that way, a thought comes up that a responsible parent would want for their kids. You know, and
Well, maybe the opposite is true. Maybe a responsible parent would allow their children to discover their own passions.
I like that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for being with us today.
Yes, thank you.
It's my pleasure.
Before we end for today, I want to speak about generosity in a slightly different way. I know you got to just hear Christine and Dave. I think it's so generous of the people who come on as guests and share with themselves and ask their questions, so that we can all discover things about ourselves. So this is a shout out to everybody who's ever been a guest. Thank you so much. And there's a number of people who work behind the scenes to produce this podcast and make sure it goes out each week, and has for more than 16 years. We're going on 17 years coming up soon. And that's very generous too. So
Thank you.
yeah, thank you all.
Next week's podcast.
For the very first time, we'll be back next week,
So come on back.
and don't miss being here.